Okay, we have guests with us today. On that note,
Welcome to Bloomington.
we have 217 Mortgage with us today. So I don't know who else coming up and talking, Corey and Jen, maybe? Yeah? Okay, if you guys want to come up here, I will hand it over to you, and then I assume you guys probably don't want to sit down.
If they leave this here, you won't have to worry about this.
Yeah, there's a microphone right here.
Oh, awesome.
So, yep. All right, have at it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for letting us be able to come here and present to you all. I'll tell you what, we have the opportunity to present at Keller Williams up in Champaign quite a bit. One of the big things that we always appreciate about, presenting at a KW is the amount of value that we seem to be able to pull from those meetings as well. So we hope to be able to give you guys some value today. Hopefully be able to help give you guys some ammunition to win in this kind of market that we have. So a little bit of introduction. My name is Corey Roberts. This is Jen Wright. And Megan Weaver.
I was gonna say, he's never gonna stand still, but the camera can't see you. So I feel like I should drag you
Is this the
over.
camera right here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Just like motion him over.
Yeah. So we are from 217 Mortgage. We have offices here in Bloomington, 2 in Champaign, Danville, as well as Tuscola, and we just opened up an office in the Quad Cities as well. So we're growing pretty big and pretty quick. So a little bit more about our team. This is our team at 217. We have processors, assistants, and also licensed mortgage lenders as well. We have 14 licensed mortgage lenders on our team. So we're still considered a smaller company, but what's pretty cool about it is that even some of our assistants and some of the people a part of our team are licensed that don't actually do loans as well. So specifically with our little team with inside 217, we have all 3 of us are licensed. So we have 3 licensed mortgage lenders working on every contract that comes through. So that's just kind of nice to be able to have that many heads working on one transaction itself. A little bit why 217 is successful. 217 is built off the KW vision and culture. So just like KW is kind of like your head, brokerage, you have teams with inside Keller Williams, just like Flat Branch Home Loans is kind of our umbrella company. We're based out of Columbia, Missouri, and then 217 is just a team inside of that. And so the real estate team is considered Flat Branch Home Loans, and just like KW. As far as like the professionals with a realtor work ethic, we are all commission-based loan officers. So basically what that means is we want to work the hours that you work. We want to be an extension of you. So if you're calling us on a Friday night at 6 o'clock, a Saturday night at 6 o'clock, we're going to answer because it matters to
It
us.
happened last night at 9:30 and I was in bed and I jumped out of bed and updated a pre-qual letter. So it happens.
It does happen. And we totally understand that. So you're definitely going to, you're definitely going to get that call answered if you call us on outside of business hours. So we don't work a 9 to 5, just like you guys don't. As far as the 2 seasons in just the mortgage world, right? So we have purchase and we have refinances. Obviously, refinances are not the thing that are happening right now. Interest rates are high. We haven't seen, low interest rates since COVID, obviously. So one of the big things that I feel like has made 217 extremely successful over the last 3 years, right? So when COVID hit, interest rates tanked. You had most of your lenders, most of the guys and girls that have been working in the mortgage world for a long time, stuck at their desk doing refinances. Everybody's calling them and they're pushing paper. One thing that we really concentrated on was the purchase side of those 2 seasons, right? So we have a complete separate process for when it comes to refinances, right? So that gives us the ability to move away from our desks. It gives us the ability to get into these offices and continue to build business, continue to build those relationships stronger. And that's just one thing that has set us apart, right? So instead of being stuck at that desk and pushing paper, we're able to get out there and be top of mind, show our face, present to you guys, build those relationships, which has just been that one concentrated thing for us, and that's purchase. So obviously we still did the refinances. We were still able to take care of those borrowers. And we can come back and talk about our processes and things like that, but that's a completely separate process for us. We don't have to be the ones doing the refinances just like those other lenders do. So, which I think has been a huge game changer for us.
Yeah. So kind of the master plan here with 217 Mortgage is that we're constantly having meetings and we're constantly evaluating where the company is going, where each individual team is going. So kind of Corey mentioned, we're kind of a team within 217. So 217 has a couple different teams within itself.
So we're having those meetings and we're recognizing, okay, if our business stays here, are we able to give all of our referral partners, all of the people doing business with us, everything we've always told them we're going to give them? But what happens if our business gets to here? Can we still give you guys the service, the expectations that we've built everything based off of? Commonly, that answer is no, we can't. So before we get to that point, we're making a hire, we're making adjustments, we're constantly updating everything on our side to make sure that no matter what, you guys will never know, there's never a ceiling there for us to hit. So I think that's super important. Corey and I kind of noticed that coming July of this year, we hired on Megan. So Megan kind of helps fill a void where we needed it without anybody ever knowing that that was ever a possibility of us kind of coming to that.
And so like, I mean, when we talk about market updating, it's really hard for a lender to be able to come in here and talk about the market currently. The market is tough, right? So we're going into a fourth quarter where it's just going to be a little bit tougher. First quarter of next year might be a little bit tougher as well. So when we're talking about the market, we don't want to just talk about interest rates and how they're affecting things. The big thing when it comes to the market now is how the feds are actually talking in these meetings. So it doesn't necessarily matter what exactly they say, it's how they say it. All right, and so in the September meeting, there was actually no rate increase, which is obviously a benefit. Everything is kind of leading up into this November meeting. And so the big thing on the conversation table was for the feds, it's going to be higher rates for longer. The problem is that the economy is still doing well, right? Even though we don't have a ton of houses on the market, the job reports are still coming in strong. Unemployment's not high, things like that. So it's hard to cut the head off inflation when those things are still happening. So when it comes to those conversations with your borrowers, obviously you're probably having the old saying of, date the rate, marry the house type of situation. So we're going to give you a little bit of ammunition when it comes to how we're winning in this market. But the big thing about the market update right now is interest rates are still around that 7 to 7.65 number-ish when it comes to conventional. The big thing to keep in mind is that every borrower is different, right? So when it comes to interest rates, a lot of things play that role. It plays in purchase price, plays in down payment, type of loan. All of those things play a role in what kind of interest rates that you get. So this is something that we have a pretty good pulse on. This is the appreciation report this was at the end of July. So September's came out. It just hasn't been posted yet. But this is the appreciation report. I don't know if you guys kind of take into account these types of reports for you guys, but I do urge you guys to look at these types of things because these types of things matter. And so when it comes to all of these different kinds of bureaus of reporting, Case-Shiller is kind of like the gold standard when it comes to the appreciation reports. But the one that we really take a look at is the FHFA. And the reason that we take a look at that one, it takes out cash buyers, it takes out commercial loans, and is strictly residential lending. So conventional, I mean, all four types of loans, but mostly the ones that are going to be done by residential mortgage lenders. All right. And so over 2022, the appreciation report came out of 6% increase. And this year we're on pace to do 7% increase. So appreciation is really high. And so the kind of conversations that we're having with our buyers is not necessarily now's not the bad time to purchase, but use your equity. If you're the type of person who's going to be using equity to purchase investment properties, now's the time to do it because appreciation is higher than it's ever been.
Another way to kind of help your buyers win in the market is something that we offer called the 2-1 buy down. It's kind of an overall basic, it's primary residence only, purchase transactions, existing or new clients, first time and non-first time home buyers, and it goes for all the loan types. So conventional, FHA, USDA, and VA. So what is the 2-1 buy down? Basically, when you have those buyers who are really hung up on the interest rates, they can't get over the fact that it's 6-7%, anywhere along those lines. The 2-1 buy down allows us to ask for a seller's credit. Instead of that seller's credit coming as a closing cost credit, they're putting it all towards a 2-1 buy down. So for the first year of this program, their interest rate is 2 points lower. So I think our example is 6%. So if you got into contract at 6%, the very first year of your loan term, it's 4%. The second year, it's 5%. So what happens is we do a calculation, we figure out what the credit needs to be. That money from that credit goes into what basically is an interest rate escrow account. So for the first year, your technical interest rate is still 6%, but that credit that the closers gave you at closing, when you make your payment the first month or the first year, the difference in that payment is coming out of that escrow account. Same thing with the second year. Second year it goes up 1%, so it goes to 5%. Third year, then you're still locked in at that 6% 30-year mortgage. It's never increasing. It's not an ARM. However, if rates decide to drop and next year our rates hit 4%, but you're in this 2-1 buy down program, what happens to that escrow account? Well, that's still your money. So that money that's in that escrow account just goes all towards the principal of your loan. You can still refinance. There's no penalty. There's nothing for you. That's still your money. It does need to look specific on the contract. And I think we do have Bloomington's contract on here. So where you put the closing cost credit in there, you actually have to specify that it is for the 2-1 buy down. So I think we just put in there right above the top there, it just says and buy down. So 4305 and buy down. So it's a pretty easy way to get their payments lower. They're still in a fixed rate. They're not in an ARM. There's no gamble there. In worst case scenario, they know what their max interest rate's always going to be.
Is anyone seeing this right now? Has anyone done any kind of buy down? No? Okay. It's getting more and more popular, and the reason being is that there's a lot of people who are just having a hard time to commit to purchasing right now. Especially that 300,000, 400,000 price range, especially on conventional buyers, knowing that they're leaving a 2.5% to 3% interest rate and trying to buy something bigger that they know that they need, but can't commit to this rate. This is a really good, step in the right direction for them.
It's interesting, because I think buyers still don't understand it. I've offered it as a seller,
Mhm.
but I don't know that buyers really understand the.
Can you explain to them how they figure out, like in this example, you have 7,000? Can you explain, should the agent reach out to you and ask
Yes.
what that amount needs to be, or?
Yeah, and the conversations that we're having with our borrowers is, if you're talking about negotiating anyway, right? Offer the full amount, because most buyers' mindset is, I don't want to pay that full amount. Well, it's not going to make that much of a difference over a 30-year term, right? So if you ask for that back into credit, specifically in the way that this contract shows, then you're just asking for that specific amount of money that was shown in that previous slide as a closing cost credit, right? To buy down your rate for the first 2 years. So historically, right, it's showing that we're going to have another refinance boom. And it's not going to be down to that 2.5% to 3% interest rate, but even at a 5%, most people are going to be refinancing anyway. And so by the time that we get to that point, they're already in their first or second year worth of buy down. They're going to be able to refinance into a fixed rate, lower interest rate anyway.
But there is an amount. So if you ask us what it needs to be, because it goes off of the market each day. So we can always run those rates for you and tell you what the closing cost credit.
And it has to be specifically in there exactly how that's
Yeah.
calculated.
So if, like in this case, if the credit for the buy down is 4305, but you got a $5,000 seller's credit, we have to have it broken up. The rest of it goes towards closing costs, but this amount has to be. But we can help kind of navigate that.
So right now, I don't know how sellers aren't just gonna give that up. I don't think we're still in that position. So is our purchase price covering that so that the seller nets whatever it is that they want? Because
Yeah.
think
we're
that's
not
all part
here
of the
yet to be
negotiation.
asking for stuff from
Yeah,
sellers.
and I think that's all part of the negotiation. When we're talking about USDA or even FHA, right, we go above purchase price to be able to offer a credit, right? And most times it's appraising out, right? And so that's not going to be our number one issue, is whether it appraises out or not. If we need to get that rate down, we'll talk with the borrower about, hey, this is what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you an extra $15 a month to go above purchase price to be able to buy your rate down to that, 4%.
But as you mentioned too, like the sellers, like it's a huge seller's benefit too. If the sellers know they don't want to go down in purchase price, but maybe it's been sitting on the market a little longer than normal, like you can offer that as an incentive for new buyers to come onto the market. Like, we're going to give you this to buy your rate down for a certain amount of time.
Any other questions on that? So this is just our commitment. This is just our commitment to you guys, right? So we just want you to know that we're here. We're going to be available for you. 217 is it's just a residential mortgage company that works just like realtors do. All right. And so just know that we understand that a Keller Williams office just can't be serviced by 1 or 2 or 3 people. It takes an entire team. And just so you know, you have that with 217. The good thing about our team is that we're family, just like Keller Williams is family. And so if one of us is out, 2 of us are out, 3 of us are out, it's just a text message to be able to pull in a loan application and get a pre-qual done. And so I think that's a huge benefit for people, something that they don't get with a lot of lenders. And it's literally just that simple for us. And so we also just want to kind of open this up for any questions that you guys may have that we can answer. Anybody got anything? Any hard deals that they got going on? Any mortgage questions at all?
How would the,
I have a question.
Okay.
So these class action lawsuits on commission are taking the industry by storm. So I guess my question is, if we get to the point that a seller is offering zero co-op, and I have a buyer's agency agreement with my buyer that they're going to compensate me 3.5%. If they don't have the money out of their pocket to be able to pay that, can they, and if they can, how would they wrap that into their loan?
I don't know if it would be wrapping it into their loan as much as it'd be like a second addendum to the contract. We haven't seen this just yet, right? So this hasn't been a for sure thing just yet. But I know what you're talking about. I read an article yesterday that's showing that.
Would it have to appear as a form of a seller concession, and therefore how would it pan out on the closing statement?
So I had one that was a for sale by owner. The buyer was paying the commission. And they did not have the money to pay out of pocket. So we did increase the purchase price for the seller after we found out it appraised for more. And the seller then paid the commission off of their profits, over their additional profits.
Okay.
But like Corey said, we haven't seen it a lot to really know how we're gonna have to handle it legally as far as once it comes down to all of that. But I think that for right now, that's a good place to start.
Okay, so it's still kind of a to be determined.
It's definitely to be
Yeah.
determined, yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right. I was just curious. I was thinking about it yesterday. I was just curious. Thanks.
Okay.
I would assume that as this becomes, I mean, this is really just starting as this lawsuit settled last week. So I would assume as we hear more about this, there may be some changes in your world that come as these changes in our world come, right?
For sure. Like, I think we're gonna have to definitely take that into consideration when we're figuring out closing costs and everything else. If we're figuring in a commission, we'll need to know that up front too. It's not something that people can spring on us last second, but I'm sure there's gonna be an addendum to your contract, stuff like that, that we're gonna start looking at.
Somebody else have a question? Any other questions?
Are you guys okay? Hi, I just wondered if you guys, is your office in Champaign then? Do you guys work out of Champaign?
Go ahead.
No, so we do work out of
Okay.
Champaign mostly, but we do have an office in Bloomington, Megan's in Bloomington.
Got it.
So, yeah, there's still a presence in Bloomington.
Well, thank you guys for your time.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave some information for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're available.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We always enjoy snacks.
Well, we warned them, there's 5 people in the room,
Those are
so.
okay, but they can say.
All right. We're in October. All right, here's what we have going on this month. Today you are at team meeting, and at 6 o'clock tonight is a PAR trivia night. If anybody is headed to that. Tomorrow we have Capper Call. There is a class tomorrow at Mira called Developing Tomorrow. I believe it's with like maybe city council members or somebody's coming to talk about what
Local development.
local developments in Bloomington. Similar to that, next Wednesday at 10:30 at PAR is the Peoria Housing Authority. They are coming to talk. If anybody from Peoria has a better idea of what that's gonna be about, I believe it's similar to what's going on in Bloomington tomorrow. They're also doing a class on the 25th at 10:30. This is kind of it seems like a 2-part class maybe. And they are gonna talk about grants and special financing. So There's some good association classes that are happening this month. Those 3 classes in particular, I know you guys all have CE on your mind. Those 3 classes do not go towards your CE. However, on the 31st, on Halloween, you can spend the day at Mira from 9 to 4, getting all 12 hours of your CE done, except your sexual harassment. So please go online. and
Costumes
complete
optional.
Your sexual harassment. Are you gonna go and wear a costume? What would you
I
dress
might.
up as?
Surprise.
I'm gonna try. Yes, sir.
Feedback off the CE stuff.
Yeah.
I think sexual class.
Sexual harassment, Tom.
This is.
The sexual harassment class,
Yeah.
that's worth 2 points, correct?
That's, you are required to have 1 credit hour. Typically, that is a 2 credit hour class if you take it by itself.
Okay,
Yes.
so like if you have 2 electives already done, so that's 6, and you do a core, which is 4, and you do the sexual harassment, which is 2, does that satisfy
Yes.
all the CE requirements?
Yep.
Okay,
That's the very first thing. 2 days, 2 days. Not 12 hours in 1 day. That helped me.
Oh, yes.
yeah, it's 2
It's
days.
2 days.
31st
It's 2
is the
days.
first.
Yeah, I just
We
haven't
just
done the
haven't put
November.
November together.
We don't have
yet.
the November calendar.
Relax,
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Sex harassment.
We're having a real
Tom
hard
wanted
time.
sex ed was what I heard out of that. He took me back.
I'll
to-
double check on that.
sophomore
It
year
was
in high
in your,
school.
it was in your Mira bulletin. So if you're interested in doing it all at Mira, go back to your bulletin.
It was a sexual embellishment class.
Okay, sexual harassment, safety prevention is part of, I'm guessing that's on the 1st. That's on the 1st. They must have decided to do that class in person again. So don't screw it up. Don't make it weird, or we'll have to go all virtual again. Okay, what did I miss? The 11th, next Wednesday, is the Mira installation. So Minu is being installed as our president, and it is also the annual awards. So if you can make it to the installation, where's it at? It's at that place downtown that it was last year, Reality on Monroe. You can buy your tickets. All the information was in your bulletin yesterday. The 18th is the Par Chili Cook-Off.
There is no ticket. For members, it is free.
Oh, you just have to go RSVP, right?
Yes, you have to register for the head counts. That's about it, for the food and drinks.
Perfect. And Melissa pointed out the tech workshop is on 10/19 at 1 o'clock. That is my fault. I missed that. So I will get that added for next week, but 10/19 at 1 o'clock, more details on content to come. And then the 9th is Columbus Day. I'm just bouncing all around. The office is open, but keep in mind some of your title companies, banks, stuff like that might not be open. But we will be here,
The less dedicated.
the less dedicated. Business planning clinic. We have a couple of new people on the call, so I'm gonna let BJ explain what business planning clinic is on Friday, October 20th, in this room right here all day with you and I.
It's interesting. I've had a couple of conversations about this in the last week, and what I've learned is that all of you think that this is just dreadful.
I don't know how a day with us
And
could
that's
be
really
dreadful.
too bad because it's one of my favorite things. But here it is, right? Business Planning Clinic is all about writing your business plan. Right? If you ever went.
Shelley, yeah. Shelley,
it's
you better be
dreadful.
here front and center.
All right, so here's the thing. This is all about your business plan. Unfortunately, your business plan means that you have to know the numbers behind your business. This is all about coming up with those numbers. It is based on the Millionaire Real Estate Agent model. So if you've ever thought about, dreamed about, or considered making $1 million in a year selling real estate, guess what? This will help you get a plan together in order to reach that. So Shelley, maybe we. I don't
Shelley's
know what
gonna
to
be in
tell you.
this seat right here with her bells on.
And you know what? When Shelley sits in the front, she always smiles. So at least I feel like
You feel like you're
she's
loved.
entertained. I don't know. I didn't know it sucked so bad. So
If-
I will try to make it fun. So will Megan, actually.
I'm always fun. We're gonna spend the next few Tuesdays getting ready for business planning clinic. So we're not gonna drop a whole bunch of information on you and expect you to just work all day. We're gonna do some work ahead of time to lead up to the 20th. So Make sure you're here and paying attention in team meeting the next few weeks, and you will be that much further ahead on business planning clinic. So,
And lunch is provided.
and lunch is provided. Adam gets to pick where.
Go to me.
The 9th, December 9th, I didn't change the time on this. It's 5:30 to 9. I just thought about that right now. It's 5:30 to 9, but December 9th is our holiday party at Anjou. So you and your guest get to come and get all dressed up and eat good food and have drinks and celebrate surviving another year in real estate. So December 9th, mark your calendars. I couldn't resist. You were all doomsday. Okay. We kind of talked about this already, but just a reminder, it is time for all of your CE. So you can go to this website, illinoisrealtors.org/education/lookup, and you can put in your license information. And if you have any questions about what CE you've already completed, you can look it up right there. If you have any questions about what you need, most of you need the 12 hours of CE, including 1 hour of sexual harassment. I always recommend you do code of ethics. And if you got your license from November 1st of 2021 to October 31st of 2023, you will need your 45-hour broker post-license class. I always recommend you just get it done right away, right after you take your licensing test, because it's fresh in your mind. But if you haven't done that, that's okay. You just have to have that completed by April. And
NAR has a prediction that 20% of you won't do this.
yeah. NAR
Surprise you?
is predicting a 20% drop rate. Right now, we're seeing like just under 10. It's like
Yeah.
9 or 10%. But we know that all the drops usually come in October. We are starting to see them right now.
Yeah, and here would be my challenge. The only reason I bring that up, I think it's legitimately, there's a percentage of the agents that should probably not renew. And there's some agents that probably should renew that won't, because they just don't know what their other options are. So before you go down that path, before you decide that you're not going to do it and kind of quit real estate, come talk to one of us. That's what Megan's here for. That's what I'm here for. There's other agents obviously in this office that would love to help you as well, but there's just something to seeking wise counsel around this. And it may very well be the right thing for you, and it may be the wrong thing. There are other options. There are teams out there right now that are looking for agents to add to their team. It may be that you'd be better off to not waste all of that licensing and all that stuff and move to a team. So again, it's just an opportunity to talk about options.
Absolutely. All right. Today, we're going to talk a little tiny bit about financial habits. So we know that you guys all love talking about your finances.
Hang up now, Shelley, if you don't want to hear this.
Shelley, don't you hang up. I'll call you back. I will call you back. Tania, sit down. All right. We're not going to say the budget word for a while, but we are going to talk about just our general financial habits right now, and just do a little bit of an audit of where we're at right now, in hopes that maybe we can make some changes before business planning clinic in a few weeks that will help us get on the path of understanding our profitability a little bit better. I hope that you guys are surprised at how easy some of these things are to change. This was a panel, or maybe just an interview, I don't remember, at Mega Camp. And I just like these 5 very simple steps to kind of audit where you're at, and hopefully change some of the habits you may already have that could use improvement. So number 1 is building a professional financial team. So if you go to Mega Camp, you go to Family Reunion, if you're there and you're listening to all of these speakers, they all have a lot of clarity around their profitability. And I think we sit there and we go, okay, but they sell $50 million, $100 million, $200 million a year in real estate.
Yeah, they need
it.
big people.
I
like
don't
that,
need
yeah.
it. And they have staff people that do that and all of that. They do have a professional financial team.
Talk about that team, right? Because that really, there's more than one person apparently on that financial team.
I think as let's take our agents, and not necessarily the agent that you saw on stage that talked about this. A professional financial team to you might just look like a CPA. If you look at the unprofitable mega agents, these are the agents that usually DIY their finances. I've looked at enough KPAs as a team leader to know, and I fit this KPA, so I am right there with you. Most of us are not high structured enough to sit at a computer and enter our financial information and analyze it every month. However, if someone in my world were to give us a financial statement every month, I will sit there, I will look at it, I will strategize around it. But if it's on me to do it, I'm just not going to.
If you've ever done a bank rec and been more than $10 off and just decided it didn't matter, you're probably that person. And far higher numbers than that for a lot of us, right? But something else about that team, I agree, a CPA I think is indispensable in this business, right? You're self-employed already. There are several tax options that you will miss on your own, I promise you. So a CPA is a minimum.
There's a certain production level that you hit where it's advantageous to change your business structure, whether that's an LLC or an S corp or things like that. A CPA guides you through that. And so we often get the question when I onboard, if you guys all remember when you were onboarded, you had to fill out how you get paid. And I always say, if you get paid as a business entity, you're going to write it here with the tax ID number. And everybody says the same thing. Am I supposed to do that?
And then once you get this good CPA, guess who they're going to direct you to? An attorney. Because they're going to go, hey, you need somebody to draw all this stuff up for you, right? So all the paperwork and all the legal side that goes on. So on that financial team, now you have a CPA and you're going to add an attorney.
I just reached out to Chris Bird this morning. If any of you are familiar with Chris, he teaches tax classes specifically geared toward realtors. So I'm hoping, I mean, we'll definitely have him in before tax time, but my hope is to have him here yet this fall to get really in the weeds about how to financially set up your business. But what I want you to take from this is, if you are the agent that has DIY'd their finances and you've said, this is the year I'm going to set up QuickBooks, this is the year I'm going to keep track of everything, this is the year I'm going to have a P&L, and you haven't done it for the past few years, it's probably time to find a who in your world that's going to help you do that. I'm happy to sit down and talk with you first before you go anywhere else, and help guide you down the right path. But we do have a couple of accountants that agents use here in this office. So if you're looking for a name of someone, I'm happy to give you that. I have a couple names of accountants in Bloomington, a couple names of accountants in Peoria that I know are familiar with real estate businesses. But don't do the same thing you've done this year if you get to the end of the year and you wait to file your taxes and then you find out how much money you made. If you're that agent, this is the year to do something different. Number 2, break big wealth goals into small steps. The really profitable mega agents know exactly where they're going to be 5 years from now. But they also know exactly what they're going to do today to get them there. So we're really good at dreaming and setting goals, or I can speak for myself. I'm great at setting goals and dreaming, but oftentimes I just don't spend the time to chunk it down into what I need to do today. And so I get to the end of the year and go, oh, I didn't do that this year. So we fail to execute a plan because most of the time we just don't have a plan. So Business Planning Clinic is just that. If you spend some time thinking about your big wealth goals, it'll help you going into that day to understand, where do you want to be in 5 years? What things do you want to spend money on? Do you want to pay off your mortgage? Do you want to buy a new car? Do you want to take your family to Disney? Do you just want to start creating a retirement nest egg? Do you want to start investing in real estate? Maybe talk to 217 Mortgage about how you can use the equity in your house to invest in real estate. There are so many opportunities to build wealth with a real estate license. We just sometimes don't take the time to slow down and give that enough thought. We just get stuck in the grind of production. You want to do number 3?
Pay taxes quarterly. I mean, that's simple, right?
The most profitable agents pay taxes quarterly. The unprofitable mega agents wait for a big tax bill, or they avoid taxes entirely.
If I don't look, it doesn't exist. That's okay.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
The IRS will find you.
Can I just say how easy that is?
Box behind you.
Taxes quarterly.
Create a profile on irs.gov, and as soon as you have a closing that's direct deposited into your business account, because everybody does that, right? You just go in and take 25% from that closing and send it to the IRS. So easy. So you said it sounds easy. It is easy.
I like that. A lot of times we get the question, how do I know how much to send? If you go back to number one, when we talked about having a professional financial team, your CPA will help you figure out that amount. Your CPA may tell you, just take 25% of every check. Just every time. They may tell you, pay this amount every quarter for this year based on last year's taxes. That's something you and your CPA will work out. But paying quarterly taxes is huge. I can't tell you how many agents, we can feel it come April. The agents that got surprised by a big tax bill. So our goal this year is that more agents understand the importance of paying quarterly taxes and are not surprised by that big bill. Because unfortunately, what happens is you're coming off of winter, which is typically seasonally slower. You've also had to pay all of your dues and your lock boxes and all of that. So you're coming off of kind of the more expensive months of just your overhead in your business. The spring market hasn't quite picked back up with closings. Hopefully your pipeline's filling up, but you probably haven't seen that revenue from closings, and you get landed with this big tax bill in April. So
Yep.
Our goal is that you can pay your quarterlies throughout the year and that won't surprise you. Number 4, measure success by profit and net worth. Let's see if anybody's going to be really honest today. How many of you measure your success when you set goals, you go by units and volume versus profit and net worth? There's some honest ones out there. I think this is really common. Before I came to Keller Williams, nobody talked to me about profit and net worth. Everybody competed with everybody in units and volume. I love all of you that email me and say, can I have the top-down report? My goal is that you're not using that to measure your success, but it is good to know how you stack up next to the competition. So I do love the agents that like to see the top-down report. My hope always is that that's not your measure of, is your business where you want it to be? When we measure our success by units and volume, we are missing one big piece of our business, which is our expenses. So you can look at your units and your volume and you can say, oh my gosh, I had the best year I've ever had. And then at the end of the year, you go, why don't I have any money in my checking account?
Yep. I'm gonna piggyback on that with this net worth thing. There is something to tracking your net worth. It's super easy for us to just look at our bottom line every month and go, okay, here's how much money I made. It's wildly different to start tracking your net worth. And that would include things like your car, right? Or the ring that you have on your finger. It might include all of those things. I know, right? My ring's worth nothing. The same. But it would include all those things. I started doing this several years ago, right? And I have a net worth tracker. It's just a simple spreadsheet, but it tracks all of my real estate holdings, all of my businesses. Now, some of it becomes what's the word? Subjective, because it's going to ask you, what's this property worth? And I'm going to go, oh, well, I think it's worth this today. And we all know that just like Donald Trump, I'm going to exaggerate probably what that value is a little bit, but it makes my net worth look really, really good. But at the end of the day, every month you get to track that and you get to see how these things move. Over the last few years, if you've owned real estate, it's been crazy, right? So I feel really, really good about myself. Anyway, a net worth tracker is critical, I think, to your success around this and being able to realize those big wealth goals.
A lot of people get stuck on, okay, if I'm going to track my net worth, where do I start? Where, as simple as do I build a spreadsheet? I don't like Excel. There are apps out there that will track it where you just put in, it's going to give you all the fields and it's going to say, do you own a car? How much is this car worth? Mint is one that tracks it really easily for you. It's free. I started out on that app. It's an Intuit product, so it's just very, very user friendly. You can go as far as tracking your budget. It will sync to your bank accounts. So you can always see what your net worth is live because it's synced to your loan accounts, your bank accounts, everything like that.
And I know the challenge in that is that I don't want to see it, right? Because I know that this has been a slow month or whatever else, and it feels like, man, I don't even want to look because I'm disappointed every time that I see it. But trust me, I've been there. And until you start setting net worth goals, you're probably going to stay there. So a net worth goal starts to look like, hey, I want to be worth $100,000 at the end of the year. And that's net, right? So after debt and everything else, I want to be worth $1 million. And you start tracking that. And I'm telling you, it's just like every other goal you've ever set. You start putting a little bit of focus on it and things start to happen.
One of the very first speakers I saw when I came to Keller Williams, and I think Mega Camp was the first conference that I went to. I had the opportunity to see Leslie Peters speak, and it was more of a one thing conversation, but she turned it into a net worth conversation because her one thing when she got into real estate was net worth. And so, her and Andy focused a lot on their net worth. And so she had this discussion with us, I guess, about how when they did this, their net worth was negative. And it was just kind of frustrating looking at it every month, but how quickly it became positive and then how quickly they became millionaires because it was something that they focused on. So we can focus on our units and volume, and that's not a bad thing, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be worth any more money tomorrow than we are today.
Well, even the most profitable agents may not be worth more, right? Because I can go out and make a lot of money this year, but until I start making net worth decisions, I
You're
will,
just gonna go out and buy the fancy new car.
yeah, my lifestyle will tend to follow, yeah.
So if that is not something that you've done in the past, I hope that you'll do that with us. We're gonna get into it for sure on the 20th, but we'll have a lot of net worth conversations in the next few weeks. It doesn't mean we don't want to know our units and volume, especially in this market.
Right.
In a hard listing market like this, units is the name of the
Well-
game. You can't always control your sale price.
What's
so-
interesting about this list, if you go back to number 2, break big wealth goals into small steps. These small steps looks like units,
Right.
but how many units do I need to close? How many listing units do I need this month? It gets that granular.
Absolutely. Sorry, Amber, follow the MREA budget closely. Everybody hates a budget. I hate a budget. However, so often, what is the visual that's like creativity over something? Anyways,
The triangles.
the triangle. I don't remember what's on the bottom, but maybe models and creativity. I remember. Shut up. I am really good at excusing why I don't need a budget. Either I don't spend that much money, there's not enough to put into a budget, I have it in my head. But if you are not making the kind of money you want to make, follow the budget model. It's a model for a reason. There are thousands of agents that have become millionaires by following that model. Until you have a good reason not to follow it, follow it. So we're gonna go through the budget model, just to give you a brief overview. Keep in mind, the right side of this, the unprofitable mega agents don't know what MREA stands for. I would argue most of you probably know what that stands for, but maybe you don't understand the budget model. Sometimes we call it 30-30-40
I thought it
model.
was just like dyslexic for Mira. No?
Myra. For all the people that call it Myra, it's Mira. But the MREA budget model, sometimes we call the 30-30-40 model. This means that you should spend 30% of your GCI. Your GCI, your gross commission income, is the amount of the check that you bring back from closing. So if you had a closing and they handed you a $5,000 check, that is your GCI. Obviously, when you give it to Adam, Adam takes a little bit off of it and gives it back to you. You want to keep track of your GCI because one of those 30% is your cost of sales, and that's where Adam's piece goes. So we often forget that we need to track what we took from closing because we just track what was deposited into our bank account, but you've missed a whole 30% there. So a lot of you, we call that your cost of sales, the amount of money that is taken out of your check between the time you get it at closing and the time it gets deposited into your bank account. That's the easiest way to remember cost of sales. For a lot of you, that is not 30% of your GCI. If you're an individual agent, that is probably high. But when we go to set goals, we're going to go off of the budget model. So if you don't know those numbers for this year, you're probably going to use 30%, which might not be accurate. So knowing what that number was for you this year is really important. If you have a team, the split that you pay out to your buyer's agents or your listing specialists or anything like that, that goes into your cost of sales. So it's very likely if you're running a team that it is close to that 30%. Then 30% should be the expenses that come out from the time it hits your bank account to the end of the month when you look at what's left in your bank account. All of those are your expenses. Your dues fall in there, the salary you pay yourself, your gas, all of those things fall under your expenses. Those should be 30% of your GCI. And not only do we know that those should be 30% of your GCI, but we know category by category what percentage those should be. So if you're spending of that 30%, over half of it's going to Zillow, you're probably gonna get a red flag that pops up that says, you're probably spending a little too much and you're not seeing the return that you need. And then you should be left with 40% profit. Keep in mind, 40% profit is before taxes. So oftentimes people ask where taxes go. Your taxes are paid out of that 40% profit. What did I miss? Nailed it. Okay. So we are going to talk, we're going to talk a lot about the budget model on the 20th, and it's the least fun one, but I would argue probably the most important, because understanding how much money you want to make is going to be the cornerstone of all of the goals and strategies you put in place this month for next year.
Yeah, it is probably the things that we get the most uncomfortable about and that we want to avoid the most, that are the most critical for us becoming this business that we want it to be.
So if you take one thing away from today, my hope is that it's either I need someone in my world that helps me understand finances. I need a CPA. I need somebody that's going to help me get onto the budget model, because most of the time, if you're using a CPA and that CPA is helping you set up QuickBooks, they'll help you set it up, or bring it to me and I will help you set it up so that it reads like the MREA chart of accounts and you are halfway home at that point.
Yep.
So if you take anything away, have the right person in your corner next year to help you pay your quarterly taxes and understand your budget, understand your P&L, and get in the habit of looking at that every month. So any thoughts or questions? No, I don't want to talk about budgets today.
Yeah. Now they're definitely not coming to business plan clinic.
Right, 'tis the season, folks. All right. Well, if you have any questions that you don't want to ask on this call because it feels embarrassing, I understand that. I'm happy to meet with you one-on-one and go through any questions that you have. And I think that's all we have for today. Anything else?
What do you know?
Okay, wants and needs.
Tania?
Well, I haven't run in my mouth today, haven't I? I have a house in the PLN, 2010 Longwood Lane. So if you would like to be my next door neighbor, well, maybe not you, but your buyer, at $799, 5 bedrooms, walkout basement, updated master bath. It's nice. Just come over. That's all.
To your house?
Well, yeah, because it's right next door.
I have a ranch coming out in Fox Creek Village. It's that plan that, God, they're out there, they're all out there, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, unfinished basement, but great area, perfect condition. We're gonna be somewhere in the mid 250s. Should be in about a week and a half.
If you have a house coming soon in Fairway Knolls, please reach out to Jenny Scott. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
I see none.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Great week. See ya.